Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to So Much to Talk About. My name is Nabaté Isles, and it's always a pleasure to share facts and viewpoints on the world of sports. This week is no different, and it's my pleasure to present this gentleman who has had such a vast career in journalism. He was a writer, was a fantasy football columnist and tech columnist for the New York Daily News, and now he is doing major things with Men's Health magazine, and he's someone that is one of the editors there, and also he's one of the fitness consultants, pretty much, as he's a certified trainer for over 10 years. So it's my pleasure to present Mr. Ebenezer Samuel on So Much to Talk About. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going? It's been a long time since I've run into you.
I know it's been a minute. Yes, indeed. I think since you started working at Men's Health, you started in 2017. Am I right?
Yeah, I want to say, I think I left the news maybe early to mid 2017. Yeah, and I've been there ever since. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, sir. And it's something that I can tell that you're passionate about, for sure. And I mean, there's so much to talk about with the fitness industry. There's a lot of changes going on with this unfortunate pandemic that's striking all of us. And first question, how is your family doing? How are you holding up and everything like that with this this COVID-19 situation?
It's been interesting. So I'm doing pretty well. It's me and my wife up here, and for us it's kind of business as usual. It's a tricky thing because I think obviously there's a lot going on right now, but the thing that I've tried to do is, and it sounds cliche, but you hear athletes say it all the time: control what you can control.
Yes.
And to some extent that's what we've done. So I built out a little gym space here. So I get all my training in, which is kind of something that I've always been passionate about and into.
Mm-hmm.
And my family's doing fine. Everybody's healthy. So that's kind of all that matters. So we're just kind of riding it out and trying to enjoy it a little bit, which is strange. But there's so much, normally I'm burning 2-3 hours a day on a commute into the city.
Yeah.
And I get 2-3 hours back. So I'm trying to look at the positives and actually almost, dare I say, enjoying it as much as I can.
That's right. And it's also a time for reflection too, as well, just to reflect and everything. And I think the world needed, the circumstances aren't great, but I mean, you have to look at it as like just having that time to really stop, reflect, and see where you can go from there. For sure.
Exactly. And like you said, the circumstances are not great, but at the same time, I think a lot of us would much rather, at least for me, I would much rather have the freedom to kind of be at home instead of being chained to a 9-to-5. I feel like we're all trying to get out of a 9-to-5 job where we have to slog somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And now, I mean, granted, we can't go out on Friday nights like we might all want to,
Yep.
but at the same time, we get that freedom to get out of our 9-to-5. So I do like that a little bit about it. But yeah, the circumstances are just the tricky part.
Yeah, no question about that. Wow. Here on So Much to Talk About with Ebenezer Samuel, who's the fitness director of Men's Health magazine. Now, Ebenezer, there's a lot of changes with the fitness industry. Now, Gold's Gym, for example, went bankrupt. A lot of gyms are losing money. A lot of trainers are losing money, obviously, because gyms aren't open. Now, and now you have home workout videos all over the place. YouTube, Instagram. You have the Peloton system that's going on. You have Mirror as well. So do you see home fitness having major staying power even after gyms reopen?
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I've talked to a lot of my trainer friends about this in some level, and I think we're all kind of trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. I think the industry has a lot to figure out in general, but it's going to stay because what you have, if you look at kind of the arc of fitness over Corona, when it happened and we all kind of wound up in this quarantine situation, instantly I had a ton of just my Instagram followers reaching out to me and Men's Health Instagram followers reaching out to me. And their big question was, how am I supposed to get any training done without weights? and it wasn't just me. This is going out to all these trainers,
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of us have kind of stepped up and basically tried to show people that, or showing people different ways that they can get their training done. The fact that they have resistance, so you don't necessarily need a dumbbell. I can lift like 6 gallons of water is 48 pounds. That's enough weight for most people. So again, that you have, anybody who's ever moved into a house knows that they have heavy things at their house to lift. And so I think as an industry, we've been teaching people how to train at home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it from two perspectives, one, we've been teaching people how to train at home, and they're going to be able to stick to that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are going to feel freed from having to pay a gym bill. And two, you look at the gym bill, and when we come out of this, again, there's so much talk of just what the economy is going to look like, and the fact that it might be in some sort of downturn. That's going to affect gyms heavily, and that's going to affect people who are basically going to think to themselves, can I save the money on my gym? And oh, wait, I can, because I learned all this stuff and all these ways to train during the quarantine. So I think the gym model is not going to go away, because there are people like me who are desperately going to want to go bench or curl or 500 pounds or something like that. So the gym model is not going to go away, but I think you're going to see changes to it. And you're just going to see, because even when we come back from this, I know some gyms have started to open in certain parts of the country, and they're opening literally with plexiglass separators between pieces of cardio equipment. Or there's been a lot, Equinox, I believe, has already announced that if you go in, you have to, unless you're training incredibly hard, you have to wear a mask. And so just going into a gym and training in that situation, I think for a lot of people, is they're going to prefer for them to pay money to do that versus training at home with a little bit less equipment, but with more freedom of movement without having to wear a mask. I think you're going to see a lot of people just opt to stay at home. So gyms are going to have to make some alterations. And I know they are kind of making some alterations to deal with this.
Yes, and also too, I saw that the CrossFit place, which is in Manhattan, they
Mm-hmm.
talked about how each there's going to be a max of 6 people per class, and
Yeah.
they'll be separated by 10 feet. Also, you'll have each person will have their own set of weights, their own set of equipment, and then 30 minutes in between for that equipment to be sterilized and everything, and cleaned and everything like that. So it's good. Now, can these gyms maintain that? That's the thing, because everyone's
Yeah.
gung-ho the first week, and then things start to slip, and especially if you deal with very disgruntled clients as well that are making things difficult.
Yeah, I think the issue is twofold too, because so much of the gym model that's really taken off, and I think fitness has kind of experienced this it's been sort of this golden age where everybody's experimenting, everybody was into wellness. And so much of that model was built on this idea of scalability and the fact that you could pack 100 people into a room and everybody's sweating on top of each other, and they're okay with that. And so the financial model of that was, oh, we can charge all these 100 people, and that's how we can make money. So once when you're limiting these classes, and suddenly you only have 5 or 6 people in, suddenly the upside isn't going to be there for that. And on top of the fact that you have fewer classes because you're talking about all these cleaning protocols, suddenly the upside isn't going to be there for as many gyms. I think what you're going to see, and this is sort of a blend of conjecture and just the fact, having spoken to a lot of people about what's going to happen, I think what you're going to see is going to be a variety of these gyms are going to have some sort of home slice that they can make you pay for, whether that's like a Zoom class where it's $10 and then you can get into their online class, but they're going to have some kind of online offering, and they're going to have to convince you to buy that, because that's the only possible way they're going to be able to stay balanced. I think it's going to be very, very challenging, I think, for a lot of gyms.
Yeah, it's kind of like the record industry in the turn of the century. They were way behind when it came to the whole digital age and the streaming and downloading and file sharing and things like that. Now the gym industry is kind of behind now, because now they can say, oh, why should I pay for this class? I could go right on YouTube and go to check out this trainer I've been looking at for 4 years, so
that's the hardest part, I think, is, and again, so many trainers have done it kind of almost out of the goodness of our hearts, and because people needed. I know among a lot of trainers there's been this idea that, oh, we should be offering something to people because this is a tough time. This isn't the time to say, hey, I'm going to charge you $100 for my online program. This has been a time where people were trying to give people free fitness, but once you kind of create that idea that you're giving away fitness, it then makes it hard. And it's funny because and you and me go way back on this and have seen this for years. The way it's the same issue that newspapers and magazines have had for what, 2 decades now, where they gave away so much content on the internet, and then it's become hard and challenging we condition the population to be used to free content. Then it becomes hard to charge for that content. So it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be very, very interesting. But the gym model is definitely going to shift.
Wow, that's for sure. Here with Ebenezer Samuel on So Much to Talk About. My name is Nabaté Isles, and check out Ebenezer. His Instagram is at EBENEZER SAMUEL 2323 at Instagram, and also Ebenezer Samuel at Ebenezer Samuel on Twitter. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then Men's Health at Men's Health Mag is where you can see a lot of Ebenezer's tutorials and everything. Now, tell the audience, Ebenezer, I know without demonstrating, it's kind of tough where you had to demonstrate, but talk about, share with the audience, which exercises they can do without weights.
So that's the one thing I think too. A lot of people are going to gyms right now, or had been going to gyms before the quarantine. And your instinct is to pick up weights, and everybody wants big biceps, so they're doing biceps curls, and we gravitate towards weights, but there's so much just body weight. There's so many body weight movements that we can kind of work through. And one thing I've been really trying to show just on Instagram and just get across to people, and I think a lot of trainers have, is the fact that most of the time owning your body weight is going to get you a lot farther and prep you for when you go back to the gym and lift weights anyway. So it really just comes down to the basics. You should be able to do a 30-second plank, making sure your body's in a nice straight line on that plank. You should be able to do a 30-second hollow hold, which is basically an upside down plank, where you're really sort of lying on your back. You're pressing your lower back into the ground. You're lifting your legs and arms off the ground. These are kind of very basic core exercises that have value for you without weights, and you can get a ton of mileage. You should be reverse lunges. Anytime we can do sort of a squat. A squat is a basic leg exercise, and that's going to hit both legs at once. But once those get easy for us, when the push-up gets easy for us, once the body weight squat gets easy for us, then we will go into like a reverse lunge, or because then we're loading one of our legs with most of our body weight. So now we've doubled how much we get of our body weight we have to move with one leg.
Right.
I'm a very, very big fan, and this comes after you've mastered the push-up. I'm a very, very big fan of something called the archer push-up, which is basically going to have one of my arms is sort of in that pushing pattern. The other arm is nice and long. And so then I'm really attacking one side of my chest instead of both. And again, loading very aggressively on that. So those are basic exercises that people can do. Superman holds are another one, because it's very, very, one of the key things, and this is something I really try to get across to people. When you're at home, we're all sitting more than ever. We're sitting on our couch, and then we go from sitting on our couch to sitting at our home office desk to sitting at our kitchen table. And training your back is probably the most important thing, because if you don't train your back, we're just not using those muscles frequently enough when we're at home. And so it's going to affect our posture. It's going to affect the long-term health of our shoulders. So things like the Superman hold, you lie on your belly and basically lift extend your arms out as if you're Superman, and then raise them off the ground. Then you're going to feel your back muscles fire. That's something that you should do. And then the other must-do exercise, and this is easy. You just go to your fridge, you grab a gallon or two of water or something like that, is just a row. So, a basic loaded row. You would do this with weight at the gym, but this is probably the most critical weighted exercise you've got to do at home. You can do it with a backpack. Again, the gallons of water are super easy for just about anybody. Gallon of milk, whatever, and then you can drink it after your set's over. But but you just kind of set your torso so that it's parallel to the ground. You're holding that weight, and then you're just pulling your elbow towards your rib cage. And that's really, really fundamental, just to keep your body healthy, because I think that's the most important thing, getting some activity for people at home to just stay healthy right now.
Wow, no question about that. And Ebenezer too, like, please talk about men's health. What are the plans for men's health going into the end of this calendar year? And what, like, any initiatives, any like technological things that you guys are going to do? Because you're a techie as well. So
Yeah.
are you behind some tech innovations for men's health to be able to put out there for the audience?
Yeah, I think we're it's interesting what we're trying philosophically right now, what we're trying to do, and I think what we're going to spend the next 3 or 4 months doing is just trying to get people through the quarantine. Like, we feel like as a brand, there's a huge responsibility on us and there's a huge responsibility on me to make sure that we're kind of like, we had some other plans, I think, for this point, but we shifted immediately as soon as everybody was stuck at home. It's like, let's give people home workouts. Let's give people smart ideas. What we're trying to do, I think, is twofold in terms of how we do that. In terms of what we're putting on our website, it's just a lot of super accessible home stuff. I want your viewers, anybody, to be able to log onto our website. You guys don't know necessarily what to do at home, or you're trying to figure it out, and that you can see somewhere very instantly, very quickly, oh, here's a homework that I can do right now. I want to make it as easy as possible. So we're just putting in some things to make it as easily as possible for you guys to get workouts off of our site whenever you need it, off of our Instagram whenever you need it, just keeping that really accessible. And then what we're also trying to do is really just teach a little bit more of the home theory and home science within our magazine. We actually have, I believe right now we're running a promotion where it's something like $7.50, which is a ridiculous deal for like a 1 year subscription to the magazine. And what we're trying to do, the only reason I really point that out is because we're trying to pack that with so much just fitness knowledge. That way, again, there's so many, you can't bench press, you can't squat, you can't do those heavy deadlifts you might want to do in CrossFit right now. But what you can do is learn about all these other pieces and learn about all these theory pieces that you can sort of, we're trying to basically train your body in the magazine, but also train your mind so that you're that much more connected to what your body is doing and you're not just going into a gym mindlessly. We're trying to give people the tools, that way they don't necessarily have to go back to a gym or go back to their fitness class, because I'm working really hard within the magazine to make you feel like you're educated enough and you know more about your fitness than the guy who's running your fitness class. We're really, so there's so much knowledge in there. So those are our two big things. And our last thing is we have an app now called All Out Studio.
Okay.
I have a bunch of workouts on there. We have some great trainers on there. Don Saladino, I think he trains Ryan Reynolds. So anybody who wants to look like Deadpool, that's the guy. But yeah, Don Saladino's on there. I'm on there. We have a whole ton of workouts on there. And again, I'm not sure what our promotion is right now, but there's a certain amount of free content on there right now that we built just for people to train at home. So we're really trying to use, it's like an all hands on deck approach to giving people fitness that they can use right now, but that they can also carry with them for the rest of their lives.
That's deep. That's deep. Wow. Ebenezer Samuel here. He's the fitness director of Men's Health. And make sure to go on Men's Health, MENSHEALTH.com to check out all of what Ebenezer's talking about. And what's the name of your app again?
All Out Studio.
All App Studio. Yes, I'm downloading that when we end the interview for sure. Definitely. So Ebenezer, nutrition. It's tough when people are quarantined and everything. And I know you can go to the grocery store and be able to get vegetables, whatever, but there's a lot of stress going on, especially with people losing jobs, but also worried about family members, worry about what's next, worry about when they're going to be able to live their lives like they did before. And binge eating is definitely real for a lot of those people. What is a nutrition plan, a simple nutrition plan for people to do so they can be able to stay focused even through these tough times that can help them naturally stay focused?
Yeah, I mean, in general, you're right. It's super hard. I think one of the biggest things right now,
Mhm.
because there is so much stress on people, and you almost don't. This is almost a bad time to get too regimented with your diet, because then you're creating more stress for yourself, right? Um,
Exactly.
so the big thing I would say is don't be too hard on yourself right now. Just understand the situation, and if you trip up a little bit, you trip up. It's funny. I was before I got on here, so about 2 hours ago, I was talking to my friend Don Saladino. We were both talking about how, I mean, we eat pretty consistently, but at the same time, we're at home. And so we've slipped up a little more than normal. And we're not going to beat ourselves up for it. So I think one of the big things, and the big thing that everyone has to understand, is you're going to slip up at home. You're going to slip up anytime, but especially when you're at home and you have that giant cheesecake staring at you in your refrigerator all the time, you're going to slip up. So don't be too hard on yourself. Just try to get back on the wagon. I think the two big things I would tell people to kind of help them out a little bit are, one, water, right? One of
Mhm.
the easiest ways to kind of limit and this takes some practice, it has to be a little bit intentional, but one of the easiest ways to limit how much junk you're intaking and how much you're binge eating or whatever is to start every meal you have with water. So literally just try to drink a glass of water. Your body, your muscles are something, I don't remember the stat and I always get this wrong, but I think it's like 75 or 80% water. So the more water you have in your system, the better, and it's just great for you to flush toxins and just kind of keep your metabolism up. But if you start with that glass of water too, for anytime you run to the fridge, if you just have a glass of water or have a couple sips out of a bottle of water or
Mhm.
whatever you're doing, if you just start with that, if you think about it, if you try it, it fills you up a little bit. And if you start
Ah.
filled up, then you're that much less prone to eat the whole cheesecake, and you'll have a smaller slice. So that would be, my big thing would just be start each meal with water, make it intentional, make that the one thing that you say, okay, if I'm going to force myself to do it, that's what I'm going to do.
Mm.
And then the other big thing is just kind of being intentional and this has gotten harder because now you have Uber Eats and you have all these things, and it makes any kind of food easy access.
Mhm.
But just being intentional when you go to the grocery store, what's in your fridge is what you're going to grab for, right? So
Right.
if I go to a grocery store and if at the outset, if I can stay focused in the grocery store on buying, say, peanuts instead of chocolate bars,
Yep.
then those peanuts are at home. And then when I want a snack, I'm going to default to the peanuts because it's easier than going back out to the grocery store to get chocolate. So just
Mhm.
kind of start with good foods, go to the grocery store and try to have those good foods around, and just try to have a little bit less junk on hand. And then it's a little bit easier if you're binging on I'd rather you binge on peanuts than binge on chocolate any day.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
And unsalted peanuts are actually great. They're great, So
exactly.
absolutely. And for me, kettle chips, that's oh man, that's
Yeah.
that's tough for me right there. But while Ebenezer, while time is flying so fast, I wanted to ask you a couple other questions. Now, you're a superhero guy.
Mm,
That's something. Yeah, I know you're into
yeah.
like the whole superhero thing, Marvel, DC. Now, I have this question for you. Which superhero or villain needs to have a film series that has not had a film yet?
That's tough because they've hit so many lately. I feel like I feel like we're pretty much. It's weird. I used to have these discussions with my brother all the
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
But they've hit so many, so I actually have to think. The one who I've been hoping for is, I don't know if you remember him, Kid Nova. Um,
Oh, no, no.
yeah, he was. So if you and I think it's the groundwork is kind of. I'll give you two actually. The groundwork
Okay,
is kind of
okay,
laid for this one, because in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Nova Corps,
okay,
if you remember them from, I think, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the
okay.
Nova Corps. I guess one of their members, and it's a long time since I read him, but one of their members goes on to be Kid Nova, and
Mhm,
he's pretty much flies. He's got some wisecracks. He's kind of like a flying space age Spider-Man, very Captain Marvel-ish, I guess.
uh-huh,
But he would be one who I'd love to see have a series. The big one I would say who needs something, and I also think this is coming at
mhm.
some point, is the Silver Surfer. I know
Yeah.
we had him in that awful Fantastic Four movie, and that was not good.
I can't even follow all the films now. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But we've seen him. But I would love to see. I mean, I think they're going to revive the Fantastic Four anyway. But I would love to see. I would love to see a Silver Surfer series. Yeah, or a Silver Surfer film. Because then you get Galactus in there, and you'll get the Fantastic Four, and there's just a lot of fun interplay.
wow.
So those would be my two big ones, I think. But I'm gonna
Wow.
get off with you, and then I'll think of like 10 others.
Now, Joker, with like him having his own film, which was just tremendous. Todd Phillips surprised me as a director for sure. I mean, he's great, but it surprised me. But what about a character that has always been a supporting character, a la Joker with the Batman films and everything? Twice there was no, I think. No, it's just once Joker appeared. No, twice with Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger, excuse me, in those Batman films. But name like a supporting character that can get his own film or her film and be a success, and like Joker was.
It's interesting because the one of the characters, and it's actually a character who we've seen, but I was just a bit. Obviously, we're gonna have that Loki series at some point on whatever Disney Plus, which I think will be really good. But the one character I was really disappointed in, just when they introduced him to the Marvel Universe, was Red Skull. And it's not that he was bad. I just he was there for one movie, and then he was dead, and then he showed up in space. And everybody's seen Avengers Endgame right now, so I'm never gonna But I really do think they could give. I would love to see some kind of Red Skull. I think he can carry something. We haven't learned, especially the version of Red Skull that they delivered in the MCU. We didn't really get to. He was sort of binary. It's like, hey, he wanted world domination. He was going to do it with the Tesseract, and we didn't really get to meet him. But there's some intricacy there, and there's a lot you can do with him and kind of Hydra and stuff like that I would love to see. So I think he's a guy who we could really dive into. And Hugo Weaving playing him, that's an actor who can do.
Wow. Yes.
I mean, that's a talented guy. So that's a guy that's probably the big one.
Wow, awesome. I mean, it's just interesting because for me, I'm like, it's like hot and cold for me with superheroes. When I was younger, I was really into it, and then I think what got me back into were the Batman's Christopher Nolan, what Nolan did. Sure, yes, indeed. But wow, Ebenezer, oh man, pleasure to have you on. So much to talk about. Once again, Ebenezer Samuel is the fitness director for Men's Health Mag. Make sure to check him out on Twitter, Ebenezer Samuel on Twitter, at Ebenezer Samuel 23 on Instagram, and also Men's Health Mag on Instagram and Twitter, same address, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. Yes, indeed. Keep doing the great work, sir, and pleasure to have you on. So much to talk about.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Thanks. Thank you all for watching So Much to Talk About. See you all next week. Be safe. Stay home. Take care, everybody.